Sweet, yeah. Mad True Podcast, episode 14. We're still alive! We did it! We're still here, man. We're still here. How you doing?
I'm alright,
Yeah?
man. How are you? Hello.
I'm sweet. Yeah, I'm better now that I'm here with you.
Well, that's a nice thing to say.
It's very
I
sweet
appreciate
and it's
that.
very cute.
Appreciate the sentiment. Really nice.
Do you want to tell the people who you are and
I thought you were going to give me a big grandiose
what you're about?
introduction.
I
but,
don't-
I suppose
well-
I'll do it myself.
oh, that's put a lot of pressure on me now. That's put a lot of pressure on me.
No, that's fine.
I would, but I don't actually know your second name. I was gonna ask, so I'll put it in the. I was gonna put it in the title.
Right. Well, I'm
But-
Jay to you, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm Jay Umpriz. I am a spoken word poet and vocalist with the band DSB, Dirty Scrounging Bastards. I've been running the Loft recording and rehearsal studios for a bunch of years now, alongside my band, and that's all I can think to say about myself currently.
Decent. Sweet. All right. Well, I don't know. Was that grandiose enough for you?
I think so. I mean, I think that
Can the mic hear you if you're
given
sat far
a
away?
better sense-
I usually go for it like where I'm sat, like I'm sort of being intimate with the microphone. You know, it's
Right,
like
okay, like this, like
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
sweet microphone.
yeah.
Now you can hear like this proper croak of my voice and everything like that. Now I can Barry White it, that's better.
Yeah,
Okay.
mad truth. So yeah, like you say, poet, musician, the founder and originator of where we are right now, which is the Loft Music Studio in Long Eaton, which is a great little space if you need anything done music-wise.
Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Yeah, we've been here for, well, as I'm one of the founders, we've been here for, I think it's probably like 10, 12 years, a long time,
Yeah.
since I was a younger man. It was set up with a friend.
What were you like as a younger man?
As a
Because
young-
I haven't.
Well, straight in there.
I've only met you relatively recently, right? I've met you a few times. We've had a couple of interesting conversations. You've been very supportive and accommodating of everything that I'm trying to accomplish, which I appreciate. Like, I'm very grateful that you would allow me to use this space. And I was going around for ages, you know, just looking for like a base of operations, right? And then I came in. It was like, I sort of need a place to use as a base of operations. And then you were like, oh yeah, sweet.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Sweet-
that's what
sweet
we're for,
ass,
isn't it?
mate.
Yeah, it's good to have people wanting to sort of do things that are not just like come in and practice with a band and go, which is, you know, I'm not like, I've got nothing against that. Obviously, that's what the place is for. But it's really nice to have sort of people that feel more grounded here and at home rather than just like
Yeah.
consider themselves customers. I mean, we don't have customers. No one makes money, so I wouldn't say we have customers. Patrons. The Loft has patrons.
Sure.
So, but
That's what I like about it, though. It's like it's sort of it's more of like an art space, a studio, right?
that's what we're trying to encourage now. I think.
Yeah.
We've sort of.
Was that how you started it originally? Is because I think. Do you want to just you told me the story before about how you sort of got started and what it was, but from what I understand, you started it as that sort of idea, as that
Well, yeah,
sort
what
of
it was
collective.
myself and my friend were both in different bands. He was in a band that had their own residency at a rehearsal space in Nottingham, and that place was closing down. My band needed somewhere to play, so we'd like not long formed, and we were actually playing in one of our mates' parents' upstairs rooms. So it was a long time ago, you know. And so we got this place between us. And sort of covered the rent with our bands chipping in, but then we got a few other bands in over, like people that we knew from Long Eaton came in and rehearsed here as well, and gave us money, chipped in on the rent. And then eventually we just started like sort of word of mouth spread, and more people started coming in. So we built a second rehearsal room and started sort of trying to get more people. And there was an idea at one point that this could be a place that you could make a living out of, and sort of use it as a rehearsal space. That would be my job, sort of thing. But
Yeah.
that sort of idea is long gone, man. It don't work. Like there's not enough money. So like
There's never enough money.
the best you can hope is that we make enough money comes in each month that keeps the equipment in good repair,
Yeah.
and do you know what I mean, and pays the rent and the
Yeah.
insurance, and that's about it. So that's where we're at now.
There's
and,
a lot of
for the last couple of years.
There's a lot of authenticity in that, you know. There's a lot of people talk about realness and authenticity, and like you know, like I feel like if you do have a sort of multi-million-dollar like music studio or space or whatever, then there's something a little bit less authentic about that, because it's not as like grassroots. It's not, you know. I feel like you come from the earth.
Oh,
You've risen up from the soil itself.
There's this like irony, isn't there,
Yeah.
about being a professional musician and trying to like represent anything that's not professional musician. I mean, as soon as you become sort of a professional musician, you're then detached from the world
look
that
at me!
birthed you.
I'm a professional. Look at me!
Yeah, I mean, even if it's not sort of a conscious
Mate,
way,
you
you
play
think
the triangle.
more highly of yourself. You then, I suppose, detach yourself from the world around you, and to be in a place like
how
this.
do you mean? How do you mean?
I mean, the more money you've got, the more successful you are as a recording artist or whatever. The more to fame. When someone achieves fame, there's less time to have a normal life, isn't there?
Yeah.
To be attached to the world around you.
So,
You've got all these trappings that allow you to apparently create better music to a higher standard.
sure.
But you're losing your connection to the things that influence you to create the music in the first place. So this is an accident that we're here in this place. You say it's like genuine and it's real and it's good. I mean, obviously we didn't do it on purpose, but yeah, I do feel like it is that. It's not like, well, obviously I can't really say what we would do if we were offered the position where we had all the trappings and the money, if we would change. But it's nice to have this sort of community that's been built around it, where there's regular people that come here at the same time every week. We know they're going to be here. The bands cross paths with each other. People have started to get to know each other and talk to each other. Now, the person that introduced us, Dan, the music teacher and musician, he's based here now permanently. So he's moved in and become sort of a regular feature of the place. It's just really nice to have people sort of not just since I stopped thinking that one day I would make money from running a music studio.
Yeah.
I've come to really actually just enjoy the fact that
Just the process
we've got a goddamn music studio, man, and that's awesome. Like when I was a kid, I would have pissed my pants to have had a music studio, and a lot of the time I don't really appreciate that, you know. Like I've fallen into it. It was all accidental, but now we've got this place that we can record whenever we want, without any pressures of anyone telling us that you've got to do it at a time. Like because we're not successful musicians or because we're not famous. So I feel like we're making the best music and the best art we could. Well, it's not something. This
is the thing. Changes everything.
It's not something we're aspired to anymore. I think that's liberated.
Did you aspire to that at one point?
I think everyone probably does as a musician when they're a kid. Although there's this mythology around music where people say, "Oh, I'm just in it for the music, man." You know, there's all that. But when you're a kid, like everyone sort of dreams that maybe one day I'll get recognised and I'll get like this thing called signed, where like I get like loads of money thrown at me and suddenly everything's all right. But I know I don't aspire to that anymore. Definitely as a kid I did, but I sort of it's not even real, is it? It doesn't exist, and if it does, it's not something I want. I'm too old to have crazy dreams like that, man. I'm 38 years old and I just want to make some music. And
fair enough, man. It's a beautiful thing. So, what is what do you want to do here? Like, because I sent you last time we tried to do this once before. It was episode 13. It was on Friday the 13th. Needless to say, it didn't go very well.
A surprising amount of technical problems for a two-microphone setup.
Surprising. Yeah. So I sent you a text of a couple of things to talk about and that. Do you want to go through them all?
I did read that text,
Did you really?
I've forgotten what it said now.
All right, well,
I thought what I expected was that I would prep for it and be like really sort of like, this is my time to shine. I'm going to answer all these questions really concisely. But actually, I've got nothing.
All right, so one, I wanted to know a little bit about your experiences with psychedelic substances. And two, everything you've got going on with Stu, we've already touched on that a little bit. The poetry project, Scum Poetry. relationship. What's your relationship like with creativity? I know for me at the minute, it doesn't feel like some mystical, magical, divine, beautiful process. It's a grind and a slog. But then again, you do have these moments in life where it all comes together. So we can go into all sorts there. Inspiration, synchronicity, all that.
I remember that question. Yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you, man. I'm full of them.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got
it's
all
not
of them.
very distinct, but we can definitely talk
And then
about that.
the different ways the arts have influenced, had profound impact on people's lives throughout history. Well, let's start with that because I've got some opinions on that.
Yeah, let's start with that.
Got some opinions.
Right, a little technical problem there. 'Cause, despite the fact that we're in a recording studio, obviously, as I said, I did fall into this by accident, and I don't really know what I'm doing. So we were recording ourselves on a loop there.
Yeah. Picture, if you will, the film man on the film set with like the clip thing, you know, where it's like it claps together.
Clapperboard.
Yeah. Like the click thing. Yeah, man. So what we were talking about, the ways that art has influenced people and humanity, and everything starts from an idea, right? This is my hypothesis, right? Everything, no matter what it is, whether it's this studio, whether it's like the schematics for the room, whatever it is. That's a big word that I pulled out my arsehole. Schematics. Is that even a word? I don't know.
It's a word. Yeah.
But yeah, everything starts from the nucleus of an idea, and I believe that, you know, you can trace creative expression back to the fucking Stone Age, man, to the cave people in Africa, like dancing around, like looking at the stars and like project it. I read in this book once. Wait, I don't know. I'm gonna look it up because it's a decent quote and I don't want to butcher it. Bear with. Keep talking. Improvise.
Well, I mean, I think it's.
You're like having a go at yourself for not being professional. I'm the least professional dude of all time.
It's even more primal than that, isn't it? When you go back to a. Oh, you found it.
Yeah. Astrological images are projections of psychic images, right? So that's talking about how you would look into the darkness of the night sky and then project your inhibitions and your flaws and your sort of your transient experience as a human being as being sort of clueless and sort of not clueless, but being something so small in something so big, right? And you can so people would look into the stars and then project their lives, their hopes, their dreams, everything into the infinite. And I believe that's what creativity is. It's sort of like a give and take where you go into the sort of bottomless potential that each and every individual human being has within them, because it's connected to some kind of infinite narrative. Almost, you know, everything can be looked at in the form of a narrative, in the form of a story, in the form of poetry, and art. You know,
you feel in some way like creativity is something that's given to you. Then that you're not sort of, it's not something you need.
I believe
to the
it's
person.
a God-given right. I believe, you know, and especially since I feel like during this whole lockdown period, like everyone is. Well, maybe, hopefully. I mean, I talked a little bit about this with Dan on the last episode we did over the phone a couple of months ago, but we were talking about people sort of recognising the bullshit of the society we're living in and recognising their ability to do something creative. It doesn't matter if it's like a finger painting or if it's like the Sistine fucking Chapel. It's the same thing. It comes from the same place, you know?
Yeah. So someone's Well, yeah, I mean, I don't at all doubt everybody have right to be creative. Yeah, obviously that's but it is something that's challenged more and more, isn't it? And I suppose not a right to be creative is one thing, but avenues to creativity are another thing, and this is something that's
is that why you
by
do,
the world around you, isn't there? What do you make of the world around you and the tools at your disposal, and how do you use them to be creative? How does a person with access to less be an artist to the best of their ability without, I mean, yeah, like you say, the Sistine Chapel or a doodle on a pen on a piece of paper is coming from the same spark, but they don't get the same amount of attention, and it's possible that the person that did the doodle could do something as accomplished as the Sistine Chapel with the right support.
You know, like hip hop and the origins of hip hop comes from the you know, from the Bronx, you know, when it was on fire, when everything was burning down. It comes from that chaos. It comes from that versus like the fucking aristocracy or whatever doing like the Sistine Chapel, doing portraits, doing whatever it is, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
Different types of art and different types of creativity come from different types of people, because everyone has their own individual experience, and that's what I feel so beautiful. That's what I think is so abhorrent about places like North Korea and communist China, and because you remove the ability for someone to be an individual. You remove the ability for someone to express themselves as they are, as they were born, as they think, as they feel, as they breathe, and you exchange that for some abstract idea of what a state is, or like,
you don't think we have limitations? Our society puts limitations on creativity. So there's governmental controls that saying you don't have a right to be creative. But I suppose what I was trying to drive at is that no one questions your right to be creative, but the amplification of your voice by the structures and systems around you is a different thing altogether. You have a right to be creative, but who's going to choose that you should be listened to? This is still something that is decided from the top in a top-down structured society, isn't it? So how do we overcome that?
In an ideal world, like no one should be like forced at gunpoint to listen to this podcast as like a creative product in a way, or creative output. You're not gonna.
I'm not talking about that exactly. This podcast. What I'm saying is that if creative voices, some are amplified above others by capitalist structures, by having money thrown behind them. So we all have the right to be creative, but some people's creativity is going to be noticed more than others.
Can you give me an example of that?
Well, I mean, the entire music industry is like that, isn't it? Well, we're just talking about people making music in small places like this for the benefit of themselves and the small groups of people around them, versus somebody that has £1 million in a promotion put behind their album.
Right.
And then becomes a successful icon off that. When, I mean, what are the differences? What are the structural differences that are stopping one person and another becoming a famous, a successful recording artist?
That's probably where me and you disagree to a certain extent. I don't think there's anything wrong with being in a multi-million-pound studio and making. If you want to be like Beyonce, if you want to be like fucking Lewis Capaldi, being in the charts for like a year or something, you can do that. And you can do that if that's you, and if that's you don't have to like it. You don't have to. You can listen to it and you can go, all right, this is not my thing. I'm gonna go back and listen to this like obscure experimental hip hop record from like '97 or whatever.
No, that's of course. I don't know. Everyone's entitled to listen to it. What I'm interested in though is how we can use.
What are you interested in?
How we can use art and creativity to alter people's perceptions of how society functions. If we think we understand something about society that the majority of people may understand differently, and we would like people to understand things, how do we use our creativity? I think that's what a lot of people use art for. We use art to try and persuade people of something, don't we? And if we're trying to persuade people, then and our voices aren't being amplified, then we're not persuading as many people. So what people are being persuaded of by the mainstream music industry, not across the board and not entirely, but primarily what people are being reminded of and what people are being persuaded to do is to purchase, to consume, aren't they? When obviously what you're interested in doing is persuading people to feel and to think and to express themselves. And
That's
we
the
would
idea,
like
yeah.
people to open up their thoughts and feelings and to sort of embrace.
Because that's, if you don't do that, then you're not living. Like, do you know Kano?
Yeah.
Kano's got this lyric that I love where it's like, if you ain't dreaming, then you ain't living. It's 100% true. If you ain't dreaming, then you ain't living. So says it all,
But we're so and
if you were the figurehead of like just the music industry at large, right, and you had and you were projecting those ideas to a wider audience, and it wasn't just sales, product, shifting units. Like Nirvana had a song where it's like radio friendly unit shifter, like taking the piss out of that very idea, right? So if you were there at the top of the hierarchy or at the top of the pyramid, projecting these ideas of free self-expression, very like hippie like philosophy, right? But if you were projecting these ideas of free self-expression, free love, free the ability to sit down and write a song, like no matter how obscene it is, or where it comes from, or like I'm curious if you want to talk about it, you don't have to, but what made you want to be an artist? What was your background? Where, like, did you have anything? Because I'm coming from a place of pain. I'm coming from a place of trauma, and trying to heal those wounds through self-awareness, through growth, through
well, that's certainly not the things
an authentic expression of self.
They're definitely not the things that made me want to be an artist, but maybe they've become things that are sort of wrapped up into my identity as thinking of myself as an artist in later life.
Yeah.
Funny you should mention Nirvana, because the first thing that made me want to be an artist, as opposed to, I remember I wanted to learn to play guitar because I liked Guns N' Roses and I thought Slash was cool as fuck, and I wanted to be able to play guitar like that. And I still can't, obviously, 25 years later, but that was what made me want to learn to play guitar.
2 bands, he's got his own music studio.
I cannot play like Slash, I know. But
is that a bad thing? You don't have to play like Slash.
No.
You don't have to.
But then years later, a few years later after this, sort of, I was introduced to Nirvana, and that was the thing that made me realise that this sort of intense assault type of music, that what I was really drawn to was the aggression of the music, that it could also be used for something positively political and and anti-misogynist, anti-racist, and sort of these things that I certainly didn't see in Guns N' Roses, that I never although I really liked the music as a child, as I was getting a bit older into my teens, you start to sort of notice things, and I'm thinking, man, these lyrics are horrible. Like, what's this dude singing about? This is terrible. I've got sisters and a mum, and I
love how Axl Rose is like, he's morphed into the very idea of like what you would expect a misogynist scumbag to be like. Man. Have you seen him lately? He's a mess.
I've not, no. I stay away from pictures of Axl Rose. I listened to Guns N' Roses when I was a kid. I remember, I listened to them before music videos, before I could watch music videos. So I heard them, and I saw a few little pictures in magazines, and I saw pictures of Slash and thought it was cool as fuck. And then in later life, I saw some music videos that they'd made, and if I'd have seen them when I was a kid, I don't know what my childish self would have. Maybe I would have liked them still, but they're just horribly embarrassing.
So how did you mature from Guns N' Roses, and then you got into Nirvana, and then that exposed you to the socio-political elements of music?
Yeah, really. I think it definitely was that. That was a turning point, and then I started to sort of investigate like the roots of where Nirvana was coming from, and that there was a musical traditional history of music being anti-establishment and actually progressive, and not just sort of parroting divisive shit, like Guns N' Roses did.
That's not the only example of something that was divisive, though. Like there's a reason why like NWA came out, and they were projecting their ideas, their truth, they're my truth, of what their lives was like, and that is so relevant, like even to this day. but
Yeah,
especially now with everything that's been going on recently. But because they got shut down. So what do you think about censoring creative work and censoring art and?
It's a very difficult thing to navigate. And I don't believe in censorship, obviously.
Me neither.
But then we've just had this discussion where
there are certain lines, right? And I don't know where they are exactly because I'm not knowledgeable about this kind of thing to be able to speak on it properly. But I'm going to try anyway because why not? There are certain lines that you can cross, right? And there's fewer and fewer of them lines coming out now because of the internet and people are crazy or whatever. If you cross them lines, then you'll piss the establishment off. You know, it's not like you'll be taken away in a black van or whatever, but you know.
So you're saying that you're like we self-censor because of
what? Because of
to protect ourselves against societal repercussions.
Yeah, but that's just an abstract thing.
We do that.
Yeah, it's an abstract. You're subscribing to these abstract concepts of like my trajectory was alright. I went to college. I wanted to be a filmmaker. I dropped out, and for a long time I sort of associated who I was and my sort of personhood and my sense of identity with where I fit on the sort of social ladder, on the sort of socio-economic ladder, on the financial ladder, on, you know, and you associate yourself with these things that don't actually have anything to do with who you are as a person or even as an artist, right? But you subscribe to them anyway because they're a mold that everyone else has just subscribed to for the past 150 years, and anything else that's different to that is strange or scary or terrifying.
So yeah, this self-censorship, what you're talking about, moulding ourselves to attaching ourselves to different groups, and then the self-censorship not necessarily coming from a high up elite establishment, but it could come from even your peer, like the influence from your peers around you. And I think we do that. And I think this went a lot regarding what you were just saying about the I assume you were referring to the police brutality and the protests that have sprung up in relation to that. I've completely fucking lost my train of thought.
I just wanted, because I was thinking like smoothly, it was going to be a smooth transition. It was going to be the smoothest transition of all time. But it was going to be like, how did your experiences with psychedelics play into that, right? Because obviously, like, music, psychedelics, like there's a history of anti-establishment terrorism, is that the thing or whatever, and that and sort of free think and shifting your perception. Yeah, can you speak on that a bit?
Well, psychedelics have shifted my perceptions of what we are, but in relation to being I wasn't drawn to them through art or music or anything. It was just somebody that introduced me to this idea. It was actually through mental health development. But there was something to do with censorship and anti-establishment or establishment censorship that has sort of stopped us from exploring these angles. So obviously psychedelics are associated with the counterculture of the 1960s, with hippies and with all these different concepts that we've now sort of written off as hedonistic. And psychedelics have been demonised and written off by society at large, and definitely by the mainstream media, as something that are just done for fun. And I did do them for fun when I was younger. Took a lot of magic mushrooms and I really, really enjoyed it.
Party time.
But there was always something that was there that was like a bit like, it was a bit more than just fun. I felt like there was something profound. I read some of The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley, and he was talking about these different levels of consciousness that exist, that maybe consciousness isn't something that exists from within, but is from without, and you can achieve access to these different levels of consciousness by opening the doors of perception with these substances. But then I sort of gave up on it. I don't know why. I think, well, magic mushrooms were legal at the time. You could go and buy them in a shop in Nottingham called Ice Night, and you could buy them in a shop called Salamander in Derby. And then there was a court case that said you couldn't buy them anymore. They were a Class A drug. So then I suppose that stopped. And about a year ago, I was introduced to the substance ayahuasca. Do you know this?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Do you want to, for people that don't know, do you want to explain what it is?
well, ayahuasca is it's a from the Amazon rainforest. It's a substance made up of a plant and a vine mixed together, boiled down in water. One of them contains DMT, which you can ingest in many forms, and have a what you call a trip for a short amount of time. But in this instance, the other either the plant or the vine, I struggle to remember which. The other one contains something that inhibits your body's ingestion of DMT. So instead of taking it for a small amount of time and having a 15-minute trip, you can ingest DMT and it'll stay in your body and you will feel the effects of it for 4, 6, 8, 12 hours.
Party time.
Party time's not the word, because you induce vomiting, you can shit yourself.
Beautiful.
Well,
nothing more profound than that.
The first night I took it was hell. The second night that I took it was heaven. Like, it was
really.
The first night was truly awful. It was the worst fucking night of my life.
Would you mind what was so awful about it? And what was so? How did you go from it being awful to it being beautiful? The second night.
Okay. Well, it'll be a long-winded explanation if you're prepared to listen.
Please. I'm fascinated.
Well, I was there with my girlfriend at the time. She had introduced me to this substance. She'd taken it before. And it was for, like I say, for mental health reasons. I have a lot of problems with rage, and it's been responsible for the destruction of my marriage.
Okay.
And upon finding a new relationship, I desperately wanted to not go down the same path.
Yeah, you don't want to make the same mistake.
So I was introduced to the substance as a means of overcoming trauma and understanding that traumas are generally the root of our own ill behaviours.
100%. Yeah.
So
it's like if someone's being a prick just on the street, then there's going to be 99% of the time there's going to be something going on.
There's something there. That person's reacting to something. We're always reacting to something. No, it's cool, man. But yeah, no, you're right. We're always reacting to something, and it's not fully conscious. We react to small things that say something you do. That's a tiny, minute aspect of it may remind me of something awful that happened to me, and a minute aspect of that thing may be mirrored in the thing that you've done. So instead of reacting to the thing that you've just done, I'm reacting to the thing that happened to me years ago that this thing mirrors an aspect of. I think this is how trauma manifests itself, and this is, in rage. Yeah. This is how it manifests itself in rage.
That's not widespread knowledge, but it should be.
Oh.
Because imagine if people actually knew that information.
Well, it's definitely true for me.
I think it's true in general.
I've found of myself. So I needed to overcome this. I still need. I'm not suggesting that I have, or that I'm a cured person. We all constantly need to work. But so I was. You drink the substance. I was there under the guidance of not shaman, which you would find in traditional Amazonian settings, but westernized.
Was it just a dude?
What would be known in the academic literature, I suppose, as white shaman. A guy called Shay. And a woman called Izzy, her name was. She had makeup on her face, the wings of a falcon on the side of each eye. Anyway, so
I'm already running for the hills, by the way. It's terrifying to me.
So I went to this place with my girlfriend at the time. We're going to this room. It's for a 2-day retreat. We're doing it over 2 nights. Yeah. So the first night we enter this room.
Were you in England or were you
in Austria? It's illegal in England.
Austria. Okay.
So we went to Austria to do it.
Cool.
Where it's not illegal,
semi-legal.
But not
frowned upon.
Well, I mean, it's an unknown substance in a lot of ways. So it's legal until it's made illegal. If you understand, right? Okay. But there are precedents in the UK that say no, you can't do that. So in Austria, we sit in a circle and smoke some tobacco with all the people that are there. There are 17 people in this room that have come to do it together, and mattresses on the floor, and everyone's got a bucket to be sick in,
party time,
and a roll of toilet paper. And you drink the substance one at a time. All the lights are off. There's a few candles. The people guiding the ceremony are sat watching us. There's ambient music playing from a laptop. And I drank the substance, drank the ayahuasca, and sat down, vomited, drank a little bit more later, vomited, And as it sort of took effect, sorry, I'm having a bit of a traumatic relapse talking
if
about
you don't want to talk
it.
about it,
I
it's
do
cool.
definitely want to talk about it, but if I the audio may sort of have my voice shaking a bit, so I do want to talk about it. It's cool, yeah.
No, I appreciate the realness, for real.
But I've got attachment issues. Rejection is a big thing that comes up. But one of the whole points of this ceremony was it's about your own experience, your own self. So although I was there with my partner at the time, we didn't talk. And I've got jealousy issues about the fact that she knows the guy that's convening the thing, and they've met before, and I don't know under what circumstances. So I'm watching this whole thing, and I'm just feel really detached from it the whole time, and I'm left alone with my own thoughts. So as well as having like sort of mild auditory and visual effects like you would get on any other sort of hallucinogenic, I just sort of felt every negative feeling that I'd ever felt at the same time, all amplified. Jesus. And I start when I closed my eyes, I sort of had visual stills of things that I knew from my childhood, and they brought memories back with them. And it's like I could see a window, and then I could remember all the things that happened inside the room that was behind this window. I couldn't see these things, just see a window.
Was it like a clear image, or was it something like
this image of a window,
like a horror movie, or like a really good horror movie where it's like
it's talking about, you close your eyes, you see something,
suggestive.
But then it's just all these memories that come back. Sort of, this is why I believe it's good for trauma. So I don't want to get into the exact details, but I remembered an instance of child abuse that had happened to me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to condemn the person that I remembered it doing or anything like that. And it doesn't particularly hurt me right now. And by calling it child abuse, I don't want to make out that it was a horrific... Well, I understand that it was an accidental thing. But all these things came in the same moment. So, as well, I'd never remembered this thing because obviously it was traumatic to be hurt as a child by somebody you love. Mm-hmm. So I buried it. But in the instance of remembering that it had happened 30 years ago, I also was able to comprehend it from angles that I would never have been able to understand it from had I not been under the influence of this substance. And I've since found that the science behind this, maybe, I'm not a chemist or a biologist or any of these things, but my rough research leads me to to believe that when you're under the influence of entheogens, the partnerships between parts of your brain that normally work in synchronicity are broken down. So if you were to do a scan of your brain, according to the documentary I've watched but cannot name,
sure,
with reputable scientists that I can also not name, but I assure you, was reputable.
They're real. They're real.
They're real people. I didn't see it when I was on ayahuasca. I watched it at home. The parts of your brain are synchronized usually. Yeah. And they would light up at the same time under a scan.
That's like if it's ultraviolet.
Under the influence of these entheogenic, hallucinogenic substances, these partnerships break down, but other parts of your brain, or other partnerships are formed. So parts of your brain that don't normally communicate with each other then begin to synchronize. And I think this was an experiment done on LSD. So I can't be sure that this is also happening with a person on ayahuasca, but it makes perfect sense to me that this is what was happening to me.
Okay.
That the part of your brain responsible for memory is synchronized to the part of your brain responsible for creative thinking and problem solving. So it's possible that you can revisit, I mean, this is I speculate from that.
Your experience, yeah.
That it's possible to revisit traumatic experiences, but to view them from completely different angles. And I believe that's what happened to me in this instance, that I could not only suddenly remember something that I had no memory of at all until this moment, but that I could understand fully the surrounding circumstances and how it had affected me growing up and how it had been embedded into my personality.
Okay.
This is something that would take years of therapy to understand, a small aspect of a person's being like that. Yeah. But I understood that about myself in hours by taking the substance. I say, I'm not saying that I'm cured or that I don't still have horrible rage sometimes that I wish I didn't, and I still don't say and do nasty things sometimes. But I'm able to now observe from this that you're reacting to something. You're not reacting to this person. I don't have to go off at we have anger and we go off at a person, and now I understand that I can see in myself, and I can say you're reacting to something that's not present at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like with them,
heavy.
There's yeah, man, but it's real, isn't it? Like there's instances where you internalize things and you don't. That's why I believe creative expression is so important for getting those things out of you, that poison. Not even necessarily poison, but those feelings and those emotions and those thoughts. And, you can go round and round and round in circles with an idea or a concept or even a view or an opinion that you hold of yourself. And that can be based on your upbringing or your experiences from childhood or adolescence, and you can carry those feelings with you throughout your life, even though you're not the little boy that experience happened to. Now you've grown past that and you've gone on to lead a life and you've experienced these things. You still hold that feeling because it wasn't adequately addressed at the time.
Exactly. You don't exactly grow past it, you grow with it, don't you? And it's in you. So you need it's something that unless you recognise has been embedded in you, you can't alter.
You have to recognise it. You have to recognise it, and you have to confront the things that you might not necessarily want to confront and deal with. Because if you don't deal with those things, then they'll mutate. They'll mutate and they'll become something bigger and badder, and then all of a sudden it becomes something monstrous and it becomes something that you don't want it to be. That's why I believe people go out and kill people. That's why I believe that dude, I don't want to say his name because he's a scumbag and he should rot in jail, the dude that killed George Floyd. Like, imagine, how many experiences must he have had throughout his life that made him want to have that power trip of being on somebody's throat, squeezing the life out of them and taking their life away, but having just the disconnect and the sort of sociopathness, which is not a real word, but oh well, just the disconnect and the inability to recognise your own humanity, own humanity, and then by proxy the humanity of other people.
Well, it's a problem. The problem's white supremacy, isn't it? The problem. Here's the issue, right? That it's a little bit uncomfortable for us to talk about it because listen, man, there were two white people sat in a room, so it's a bit uncomfortable for us to talk about it.
But we have to talk about it.
It has to be addressed. The issue is white supremacy. What was truly shocking to me about watching that video was, obviously it's fucking awful watching somebody be killed, and it's obvious that the guy's dying, and he's fucking he's being told that he's being killed. He's saying it. He's fucking telling them that he's dying. People around him are telling. But this is what's so shocking, that not that the guy killed, not that the fucking copper killed a black guy, because we know that coppers do that, yeah? And for some fucking awful reason, it's not shocking, because we know that they do it. But it's that he did it, and he thought that nothing would happen to him. He's being filmed with a crowd of people around him with total impunity. This idea of total impunity because of the idea that some races are worth less than others, and that's a structural idea, because what's been reinforced again and again with their lived experience and through art and culture and entertainment is this idea that black people are inferior and that there's a racial hierarchy, and the right at the top of that is
and
white
he
people.
Operates within a police system that reinforces, and it's like an echo chamber. It like that idea gets propagated, and that becomes the mindset that man unfortunately has, and it's cost hundreds of lives previously. And
well, this brings us back to what we were talking about earlier about art and how creativity can be used to sort of overcome these things. So I think that what's important for artists to be doing is to be addressing these issues, and for white people to recognise white supremacy, that it exists, and actually in some ways we benefit from it, even if we consider ourselves to be not privileged, but in poverty in a lot of circumstances. We still benefit from the fact that nothing happens to us because of our race. You know, but things happen, bad shit happens to us, but it's not because of the way we were born. So as artists,
you or me would never be in the position that George Floyd was in, and we've got to accept that, and we've got to sort of own up to that. Is that we would never be in the position that man was in.
Of course,
if we were in trouble with the police, like never. You know, and
people also try and detach this. It's because it happened in the United States. It's not a problem that British people need to address as well. We can try and detach ourselves from it thusly. But also we're very, very fucking aware that Britain has a racist police system. That it took 20 years for the murderers of Stephen Lawrence to be held to account, and then only 2 of them. And not only that, but the family were actually spied on by the police. The families of the victims. So rather than actually survey the fucking people that they know committed these atrocities, they fucking spy on the family of the person that's dead, the grieving relatives. I mean, we've got there's a history of this in Britain, isn't there, that we need to address as well. So what do we do as white people? Like, what can we do as artists? We can maybe use our creativity to at least address the issue. And if people are going to watch us in some small amount, as artists, we want people to do, and we promote ourselves so people will look at us. When people are looking at us, we can at least take a small amount of time to address these things and put ourselves in the uncomfortable situation
if you do that,
to discuss it.
You go beyond narcissism. You go beyond the need to be sort of appreciated for your work or for your contribution to, I don't know, like the music industry or the art world or whatever. But you know, it goes back to that Nelson Mandela quote that I love, which is like, no child is born with hate. No child is born with hate. Like, you don't have those feelings of animosity towards other people unless you're taught. So like, considering you've bared your soul, right? I'm gonna bear mine a little bit, right? So my brother, is 23. I'm 19, so he's 23. Has severe autism, right? He's severely autistic, and that's got a lot of trials and tribulations of itself. But we had an experience years ago. I must have been about 13, 14, where we had these sort of street rats, like these sort of dickhead kids, that because they could tell that he was different, because they could tell that he was not stereotypically what they deemed an acceptable human to be, they would like come and like abuse him, like at the doorstep, like, you know, and shout things through the window and like try and he would go out to talk to him and sort of try and interact with him because he like presumably wanted to understand what they were about, and they would just take the piss. And then that obviously got more and more heated because we were trying to get them to piss off and leave us alone. And then the sort of parents got involved, and it was just this atmosphere of ignorance, believing that you're better than someone just because you don't understand them, right? And because of that ignorance, because of that sense of superiority, because of that sense of just not even wanting to understand, because you don't.
So when you say like it came in with their parents, well, what was their parents' position on this? When it was raised with their parents, they've been abusing. So
the same thing. Yeah, they thought he was antagonising them.
So yeah, this is the issue, isn't it?
Because the kids had obviously twisted it, and
that
got violent. That situation got violent, and we had the police around and everything.
That's fucking horrible, man. But it illustrates perfectly what we've been talking about, doesn't it? That actually things are reinforced. Like you're not born with this dislike. That those attitudes obviously came from their parents, didn't they?
But if those people, or if that woman that we sort of had that altercation with, would have had that same ayahuasca experience that you had, or something similar, then it might have exposed certain things within her character and her memory, or she would have fucking had a horrible trip, but she would have
Taught
been.
her why she hated.
She
So,
would
yeah,
have
we've
been.
got
She
a-
would have been a
why,
better person.
Why do we hate like we do? If we
At
can
the end
learn why we hate people like we do, because we're all guilty of it, aren't we? At some point of feeling this hatred, like if we can learn where it comes
Yeah,
from.
but where's it? I think this is just my opinion, my thinking of it. All evils in the world, racism, misogyny, homophobia, sort of classism, whatever you want, comes from pain. It comes from pain, and it comes from fear. Pain and fear, those two aspects, those two negative aspects, which is a natural part of being a human being, man. You're not going to go through life and experience, a pain-free existence. It goes.
Yeah, man.
I mean, it's like the
Let me tell you
Buddha
more
story, right?
Let me tell you more about this ayahuasca.
Please do.
These
Please do.
couple of days, man, because it definitely didn't end there,
Yeah.
Like, but it changed me almost instantly. In that, after having this experience, and then, on the same evening, sort of when I thought that I was out of the effects of this thing, I went outside to smoke, and then found myself in a conversation with my dad, who's dead. And it's really sort of hard to describe because...
Was it like the end of Star Wars?
No, that's just what I always have to say. It's not like I saw him, or like... I don't know how to explain it, man, because I had a very
I know what you
very
mean.
clear exchange
Things
with
like
him.
that happen sometimes.
But after this happened, I the next day, after I'd completely sobered up, or sobered if that's the right word, you go to this thing called the integration. So we had the ayahuasca ceremony the night before, and then in the daytime, integration. So it's how are you going to...
I love how you put a lot of eyebrows into that.
How my eyebrows raising.
Integration.
Integration. So, but I mean, to me it sounded like some psychiatry buzzword, but it's a very serious point. Like, how are you now going to integrate the experience you've just had into your life? You're not there to trip. It's not meant to be fun. We're meant to be learning, So how are you going to incorporate this into your life? Obviously, they're coming from a spiritual perspective, right? This is most of the people that sort of endorse this substance, I find they're coming from because of the ancient Amazonian sort of connotations of it. The people are assuming that if you take the substance, you also must take part in some form of tribal ritual that's been approximated by the group you're with. There was this at the thing I went to, which made me a little bit uncomfortable, but I tried to embrace it as much as I could. So like I said at the beginning, you sat around in a circle smoking tobacco together, and they told us that we had to blow it over each shoulder and then into our lap in this particular ritualistic way, and I didn't do it, and then I felt like a twat for not doing it. Like, I'm not doing that because I'm not doing what someone tells me to do, just a fucking empty ritual. And then I didn't do it, and then I was like, oh, I wish I'd have done it, and sort of engaged a bit more.
Yeah.
But sorry, the point being, the second day we go to integration, and the dude goes, right, I want you to write a letter to yourself or to a member of your family. Like, write a letter to yourself as a child or to a member of your family. And being as I had an exchange with my dad, like this imaginary whatever exchange with my dad, like I wrote a letter to him. He'd been dead like 10 years, so and I wrote a lot. Like I write anyway, so it's not unusual that I would write a lot. But then afterwards, they asked everyone if they wanted to read their letters out in a circle, and I was like, no, definitely not, and just like sort of arrogantly, no. And they didn't like try and pressure me or anything, and which again I was a bit disappointed by. Like, oh, why didn't you why didn't you pry me for information, But that's when I noticed this sort of weird change in myself, that I sort of wanted to talk to people. I wanted people to know these things about me, or this thing. I wanted people to know what I was feeling.
Why do you think that was?
Because of the what I'd learned about trauma last night, and I suppose I wanted maybe some sort of signalling, but I suppose I just wanted everybody around to know that I'd felt some change in myself. So I will have to not talk in it's anyway, sorry, but going around in this circle, almost everyone, well, everybody else read out their letters.
Yeah.
And again, I felt like a twat. Like, why didn't I partake in this? Everyone's like embracing something that I'm not. And And one particular one, I'll never forget this. Like a girl that she read a letter she'd read out to that she'd written to somebody that it was very jolly and happy. She was like talking about all these nice times she'd spent with someone, but then it became apparent that this person was dead, and that she'd died as an infant, and it was this young woman's sister. She died quite a long time ago, and the young woman was only probably 20 years old, so she must have lost her sister when she was really young. And it's not so much the like a sense of empathy or grief for that person that really washed over me. Like, it's washing over me now, to be honest. Like, but this idea that, like, I knew full well, like, that if that had have been my sister that had died, that I would only remember it as an awful thing that had happened to me. I would have remembered it with aggression and hatred, you know? Like, I would have used it to attack people. Like, you got hurt like I hurt. But she didn't at all. Nothing, like, she just was happy. Like, that she was able to have shared any time at all with her. Yeah, man. What can I say?
It's beautiful. That's beautiful, man.
And then, so after that, they go to like...
Was that why it was that...
Mate, that was
so beautiful.
It was
that
fucking
was
hard, man. That was like I say, like I remember that girl for the rest of my life, man. And not the girl that was talking either, the girl that was lost, you know, like, always. I feel like she's in me now. And so after this, right, it gets... excuse me. So then everyone reads their stuff, and it's more of the same apart from, I do remember there was this one dude, man, one jolly old man, and he was speaking broken English, very broken, and at that point I realised that everyone in the group was a native German speaker apart from me and my girlfriend.
Right.
So not only had everyone been sharing everything about themselves with the group, but they've been translating it to English just for me, man, just for me and my girlfriend, like, so... But then when, like, they closed the group, and then I'm like, no, I want to read my letter, and sort of interjected, and I found myself doing that, and then just like weeped openly in front of all these strangers, man, like really sort of pathetic, horrible sounds, and snotty, all covered in like, and that sort of, yeah, I think that was a significant moment in my life that I was able to do that, and share these pains with people that, although like strangers, I probably couldn't do it in a room with people I knew so comfortably. But, you know, I find myself doing it with you now, which is weird, isn't it? To a microphone, which I assume other people are going to listen to at some point. The second ceremony was entirely different, man. Entirely different. Like, I seem to have got all this shit out of myself, you know. I had this, like...
You had, like,
yeah,
purification.
And I'd been, at this point, also sort of trying to keep a distance from the cultural and lifestyle connotations attached with the so-called drug, you know. I wouldn't call it a drug now. Yeah. Everyone there was calling it a medicine, which got my neck hairs up, and like, don't call it medicine, do you know what I mean? What we're supposed to call it, I don't know, just not that. But now I would call it that, medicine. After that experience, it's quite apparent to me that was medicine for my soul, for my mental health. But talking about soul, this is where we're getting now, right? So the second day was entirely different. I drank more. Like, obviously, it was my first time, and the people decided on the first day to give me a smaller amount. So on the second day, they gave me a larger amount.
Sure.
And I drank again another about an hour later when it started to properly kick in. And after a few experiences, like in the room, seeing some cool stuff and having some pleasant experiences, the room then started to sort of fragment. Everything in the room sort of became like fragment's probably not the word. It's almost as if everything was made of you could see the lines around everything. Everything was just made of lines. There was no body in anything. But I could still tell that I was in a room. I could still tell that, like, you know, that's a person, that's a chair. Uh-huh. Although it's just line, really, and it's all filled by some sort of weird fuzz. And then... Is
it that same... Do you know, like, when there's going to be, like, a storm or something, and you'll get that weird sort of fuzz in the air or something?
No,
know what I
more
mean?
like
Was
more
it-
like white noise on a
white
TV,
noise, yeah,
like
yeah.
sort of fuzz on a TV,
Static.
electrical static or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of filling everything, and then just like lines that told you where everyone was, and I could see that everyone and everything like had its own shape, but no sort of real form or body. It's like there was no matter in it. It was all just sort of made up of a buzz. Like
Sure,
that's
yeah.
a sort of a energy, they would say, wouldn't they? The hippies, like the fucking
They
hippies,
would,
that,
yeah.
that I would like always call like
All
fucking
of them,
hippies. I hate them. Energy. So, but that's all. Like, I mean, after having these sorts of experiences, the things that I rejected, like phrases and words like that, I can only sort of say that's accurate. Like the word medicine is
Did you
accurate.
have
The
to-
word energy is accurate.
Did you have to humble yourself? Did you have to?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
sort of lay yourself bare
well,
and go-
obviously, I'd done at this point. I'd
Yeah.
sort of made myself like weak and naked in front of all these strangers, man, and I felt very sort of vulnerable, but also
There's a
after
power. Sorry, go on.
after watching all of them sort of express their vulnerability first, I felt very safe and comfortable to be vulnerable. So obviously it's about self and setting. I'm not saying that ayahuasca will cure everything and everyone should take it. You've got to be with the right people, and you've got to be in the right
No, but
mental preparation to do it, and you've got to have the right guidance.
creative expression is the same thing, right? It's the same. It's laying yourself bare. It's expressing sometimes the deepest recesses of emotion, and that could be positive, that could be negative, that could be somewhere in the middle. There's an absence of vulnerability. Especially in men.
Yeah, definitely. There's this thing
there's
about masculinity. I
yeah.
write a lot about masculinity in my lyrics, my poetry. Like,
Well, can we talk
I
a
try
little
and
bit
approach-
about that? Because I'm really
Yeah, man,
interested in that.
definitely.
Is obviously like I'm interested in being the best version of myself that I can be, the most effective, the most sort of caring, the most loving, the most intelligent, the most powerful, embodied version of myself that I can be. I never had those masculine role models, really. It was only like my dad was sort of very wimpy and ineffective, and sort of he would put all his insecurities and all his rage onto me, right? And my mum. And that's a whole other story, but and then sort of my mum's ex-boyfriends, and so it was the sort of male archetype of being sort of wimpy, cowardly, ineffective, saying that you're going to do something but not following through with it, and then the opposite end of that, hyper violent, hyper like criminal, people like throwing bricks through windows and like smashing people up, stabbing people, going to jail. Like, these are the people that I grew up around, So it was only when I met Errol that I was talking. Was that before we started recording? I don't know. I told you a bit about Errol.
No,
didn't
I don't know. I think you
I?
recorded a
Wasn't he?
different
That was
conversation.
what was his
man.
name again? Sorry,
Chris, he was here
Chris.
earlier,
Yeah, Chris is. He was here. He's part of Jay's band. Shout out to
DSB.
yeah.
Talk about them some more soon.
Yeah, Errol. When I dropped out of college, I met this youth worker called Errol, and he was the first masculine figure in my life that was actually I was like writing little songs and shit, trying to express myself, and he was the first person to actively, intently listen to what I was doing, and actively, intently sit down and pay me the attention that I needed, and stop everything that he was doing and pay me treat me with that respect, treat me with that respect to go, all right, this kid's like trying to say something, here. And I couldn't, at the time, like I had just come off of having a nervous breakdown. Like I lost my mind, man. I was out of it completely. Like I couldn't look people in the eye. I had so little self-confidence. And just by listening to me, I could my hands were shaking. I remember vividly now playing him this song with my guitar in this room in the youth centre, and my hands were shaking. I could barely sing. it was embarrassing, really. But he stood there and he listened like a fucking sage or something.
That's what I'm saying, man. To have a voice is a powerful thing to be listened to. Is very validating, isn't it? So it makes you feel like you're not alone. So this is what I sort of, it goes back to what I was saying about structures around you affecting your, not your right to make art, but maybe your ability and opportunity and the encouragement to make art. So that dude made you, in your own sort of understanding, that dude like encourage you to go and make art. So,
100%.
And how many people don't have a figure like that in their lives, man?
But it's just, when you're talking about masculinity, like that, just the ability to be present, the ability to be there in the moment and just be and experience the moment for what it is. You don't have to be anywhere else rather than where you are right now, and being comfortable with that. Being comfortable, not being in your own head, not being carried away by ego or narcissism or self-involvement or whatever it is. That's the kind of man that I want to be, you know. Present, caring, loving, compassionate, encouraging, you know. And I feel like if certain people, especially people in power, politicians, had that perspective, had that that empathy and that encouragement for their fellow human being, then the world would be a lot better of a place, you know.
Yeah, it is. So it is an interesting thing, man. Based on that, that's that a lot of men that I know have the same thoughts and feelings, but cultural depictions of manhood would tell us otherwise, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So again, bringing us back to what do we do as artists to try and change this sort of thing? We have to. This is why Nirvana was so important to me, because Kurt Cobain was probably the first. Actually, it was like his anti-misogynist stance, being outspokenly anti-misogynist, which really spoke to me, because I was raised by women, and I had sisters, and I couldn't really get on board with the sexism of heavy rock when I first, although I really liked the music, I couldn't get on board with this talking about banging all the time, you know.
Yeah, I'm the same.
So when Nirvana spoke to me, it really spoke to me, man, and it made me realise that actually maybe I could use art to sort of do these things as well. And then I sort of found in later life I was writing almost exclusively about sort of social and political issues, but then I've sort of taken a conscious decision to sort of now try and sort of personalise it, in the sense that I'm not. You can get preachy, can't you? I don't want to be I don't want to be a preacher, man. But what I want to do is try and express my culture and what it means to be, what it means to me to be a white working class heterosexual male, right? All these words that other people that claim to be the defenders of those groups have turned into horrible things. I'm not accusing outsiders like exactly like the people I'm accusing would do, of saying that other people are accusing men of being horrible. People aren't accusing men of being horrible. What's happened is that a group of men have decided that a group of horrible men have decided that they represent manhood, and unfortunately, I think that mainstream culture and mainstream society and capitalism at large has a vested interest in all of these divisions, like the racial, the gender, the sexuality divisions that they try and sort of heighten. Yeah. By giving us only examples of archetypes and stereotypes. So you can be a man on telly if you do this, this and this. You can be a woman if you do this, this and this. So although most people we know personally, we have many conversations with many people that believe and feel as we do, we struggle to find popular cultural representations of these points. So that's our job as artists, isn't it? Even if we can only do it in some small way, because we don't have the means of production and we don't have the means of communication. We don't own those means. We only have social media, which again is still really capitalist owned. It's not socially owned.
It's an echo chamber as well.
It's not a democratic and open platform. Nothing ever is. It's owned by someone and they feed you things. Everyone think what you're seeing is chosen by somebody at multiple stages, isn't it? But what we can try and do is at least give the small group of people that may be watching us, if we're lucky enough as artists for people to be watching us, we can give those small groups of people a real representation of what we think it means to be of the culture that we think we are. So in my instance, I want to give real true representations of what I think it means to be white, working class, masculine, or and heterosexual. If I'm not asking about these things exclusively, but I want people to understand that to be these things doesn't mean that you have to be hateful, or although you can be aggressive and traditionally masculine at the same time as basically not being a cunt.
If you've got a kid, and they can be male or female, it doesn't matter, trans, whatever. If you've got a baby that's just brought into the world with the infinite capacity to be whatever the hell they want, right? If you've got a kid, then they've got the potential to be anything, right? It's sort of a bit magic in that way, right? If you've got a kid, then they're capable of being anything. How are you going to put someone, a human being with those infinite possibilities, into a fucking box? How are you going to do that?
That's the thing, innit? No one wants to do it to the ones that they love, but everyone wants to do it to people that they don't remind them of themselves.
I feel that anyway. It's a means for control. It's a means for people to keep you down and force you to be a certain way. And then all of a sudden you wonder why male suicide rates are so high.
I think we're always looking for someone to blame for our ills, you know, when the actual, and we're looking for easy answers as well. So this is why it's easy to direct hate at a particular group of people, because I mean, this is encouraged by media and by high politics as well, that we're told to hate a group of people. So fucking politicians can make all the statements they want about fucking Black Lives Matter, can't they? And about that they want equality, but they've done fuck all for it. Like I say, Britain's as racist as America. We're deporting British citizens to Caribbean islands because we're saying that those Caribbean islands aren't British, even though we said they were when we fucking wanted to steal everything from them.
Windrush, all that.
Exactly. So we are in a racist country, and it needs addressing. So us as artists, we should be addressing that kind of thing, shouldn't we? Oh, thanks.
Outstanding.
Anyway, like, what were we talking about?
I don't know, man. What do you want to talk about?
I
don't even know how long we've been recording for. Sort of got swept away in it. But
long ass podcast. Let's talk about ayahuasca some more, man. About my second experience, because this is something.
Please do. Yeah. Go
on. The second day when I went into this everything sort of disappeared, and I forgot my name. You know, like I'd been reminding myself of my name for like the last day in the last experience, trying I'd been saying my name to say you are sane, you know who you are, you know, like don't be scared, you know, even though I was terrified. But the second day I'm trying to like remind myself of my name as everything's fragmenting and the world around me is disappearing, and then I sort of lost. I couldn't tell that I was in a room, couldn't tell what was up or down, and I couldn't remember my name.
How did you feel in that moment?
Terrified,
yeah.
Like, well, I don't know, probably comprehending terror was like probably beyond the pale for me at this point.
Is that what you would call ego death?
Not at this point, like, but very soon afterwards, yeah. You
just lost all sense of yourself.
No sense of anything ever having existed, like anything at all. That there was no such thing as anything except consciousness. So being completely aware, like being conscious, being aware of existence, but sort of not being floating in space, but being space.
Right.
And it's as if my existence was all existence. So by that, I take that all existence at the base level of consciousness is all connected, and that what really exists beyond death and beyond physicality is just consciousness in its purest form of existence. That is the purest form of existence, the essence of the universe being consciousness. And this is what brings me back to Aldous Huxley, which I read as a child and then for somehow dismissed as an adult, because you're encouraged to think of these things as childish, I suppose, and as recreational and hedonistic. That actually was right, that consciousness. I don't know if this was even in Aldous Huxley or
You're
something I've read
tripping me
similar.
out, man.
The consciousness
Yeah.
isn't something that's created by your brain.
No.
Right, I'm not saying this is a scientific fact, so any haters want to like just cut me
Disclaimer.
off and like whatever. This is something, obviously, it's not scientifically proven one way or the other, nor can it be.
Yeah.
But my firm belief from this experience is that consciousness is not something that's created by the brain. It's something that's transmitted to the brain or to the person. Consciousness is given self by your body, by your experiences as a being in the physical existence that you live out, and then after death you will go back to experiencing nothing but everything at the same time.
Yeah, I feel like consciousness is like a river, and your life is a stream, you know, and you eventually join back to what it is, you know, and you can
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it,
you
man. I
can
feel
experience
similar thing.
You can experience through meditation, or just I've had experiences where I've lost my mind, and I've had the sense of connecting to something that's far, far, far bigger than me, and
It's exactly the sort of experience that Buddhist monks describe, but that I, for some reason, could never experience. The idea of, yeah, like you say, in the modern terms we call it ego death, but
Yeah.
serenity, nirvana, I believe, is the state.
Was that it?
I don't know. I believe that's what Buddhists call it, isn't it? Am I mixing
so, yeah, yeah.
I might be confusing terminologies, but this state of the serenity that exists from not a lack of awareness, but by separating from yourself, but a complete awareness of all things at all times at the same time, right now, never, everywhere, nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like being like God, but God doesn't exist because. So what?
Yeah,
what
mind blown.
what sort of significant for me, because I would always say I was an atheist, right, up until this point.
Up until that point. So you changed your mind?
This point now, yeah, but because now I understand a different conception of God. God in the sense that we've been taught God in schools as children, to like this Christian God, like a dude in the clouds that goes shabam, and then there's like animals, and shabam, and then there's the sea and whatever. And
yeah,
like,
and you're talking about Alice Huxley being childish.
yeah.
Just the concept of, all right, God, all omnipotent consciousness, right? All everything.
I have no explanation as to how you get.
And you just boil it down to, all right, he wears white robes, he sits in the clouds all day.
Exactly. That's where I take it. So because then we're taught like there's a disbelief that obviously as you grow up you can't believe that. And I always wonder then, well, how can people be religious?
Yeah,
This is crazy. This is crazy.
Just from
But
day
then
one.
I've realised that other people's inception of God is not that, is it? That is a childish inception of God. It doesn't make any sense. Like that God's not like a person. It's a force.
The stereotypical idea of what I was taught of heaven to be, right, is, you know, you go to some mad pearly gates, white, everything white,
Exactly,
like
it's
a fucking
ridiculous.
Stasi
Like
torture
everything's
block or
still
something.
like God, like made metal gates. Like where did the metal come? What the fuck, man? Doesn't make any sense at all. That's what I'm saying. It's ludicrous.
But the story is, right, you go to heaven, right, you're reunited with your family, everyone that you've ever loved, or I don't know about you, man, but I fucking hate some of my family. They're dead. That would be fun for about 5 minutes, and then you would get on each other's tits
It's
for all
a
eternity.
very, very problematic sort of idea. What age do these people appear? Like, what are they? The age that you want them to be? Do they get to choose
Were they
themselves?
the age
Like,
that they were when they died?
do you all see them a different age? Like, what if
Are they
someone
a
dies in an
mistake?
accident? Do they?
Or if someone like my grandma like had dementia, and like
Yeah,
she was
would
in
she
a,
have dementia?
she was in a very bad position when she is she still suffering like that forever? It's
Well,
not
I
good.
mean,
Cheers,
yeah,
God.
It
Fuck
don't make
off.
any sense, does it? Like, I mean, obviously the idea is that heaven's free of suffering, but like this sort of Christian heaven. But what I understand now is that it's all derived. I believe it to be derived from the spark of an idea that talks of a return to consciousness. that obviously everything else is dogma, and when you build like institutions and structures and rule books around something, it just becomes dogma. What really? But there's a truth. There's a divine spark at the centre of what are now world religions, but of course they started with some divine truth that somebody fully believed in what they were saying. They might have been corrupted, like Christianity might be a Roman like empire thing. It might be a means of controlling, but Christianity is modern inception, and I now understand that Christianity, I believe, before the Romans, to have been an idea of a return to consciousness and the state of heaven being the state that Buddhists would call nirvana, if it is Buddhist. If I'm not confused.
I think it is, yeah. There's the idea of the Uberos, right? It's the serpent eating its own tail. It just goes round and round and round and round for all eternity. That's what it is, you know. And you can equate that to reincarnation. You can equate that to you're born and then you go back to the same place when you die, like before you were born or whatever. It's the same thing. It's the same. I really do feel like it's the same thing, right? And we're all a conduit for this. I don't know if you want to describe it as a force, and everything. You can tap into that through creativity. You can tap into that through psychedelics or through sex or love or relation. You know, things that take you out of your physical body and then expand it to something that is beyond you.
Yeah, man.
You know?
That's,
if you're like playing a gig or whatever, and you're or if you're in a record and you're truly inspired.
When you're doing it right, man, there's nothing else that exists. That's true. That's true. It's meditative in that sense. Thing. Yeah, I appreciate. I used to paint quite a lot when I was younger. I haven't done it for a long time, but about a year ago I did a painting, and I noticed when I was doing that it just was impossible to think, to like have any deep thought, because I was so focused on that this tiny little detail had to look like this, that all I was focusing on was the movement, so strongly on the movement of a brush and how this affected the movement of the paint. I had to focus so strongly on that for so long that it was impossible to actually have any deep, what we would consider deep thoughts. But in what, to return back to talk of consciousness, there's different levels of consciousness in it. So what we would call thought, like problem solving thought, like direct, like let's get this sorted, like intellectual thought, it's just one level of consciousness, isn't it? But when you're in this
baseline,
in the meditative state, you're attached to something much I don't know, much more grand than that. It's inexplicable. This is why
2001, isn't it? Like the monkey bone becomes the spaceship. You know, it's the. And it's total stoner.
It's inexplicable. So it turns into this stoner shit. Yeah, that it turns into like it's easy to disregard, because until you've had the experience yourself, it's entirely inexplicable. And I probably sound like a fucking priest or something, man. Jesus, let Jesus run through you or something.
All right. So how do you think just normal people listening to this can take those ideas and incorporate them into
ideas
their
of ayahuasca
life?
Everyone that listens to this should seek a reputable and trustworthy way of ingesting ayahuasca in a safe circumstance.
Disclaimer: Mad Truth does not advocate the use of any kind of substance, legal or illegal.
Any substance whatsoever. Oxygen.
Stay away from coffee.
Oh, I've got a disclaimer too, because I've heard this works in like celebrities.
Got a disclaimer for my disclaimer.
Jay Umpriz, the character, right, endorses ayahuasca fully. Like, definitely everyone take it. Everyone that's listening to this should take ayahuasca. But the person that said that is a character known as Jay Umpriz. I am now speaking as Jason Wyman Humphreys, which is my born and given name, which you'll find on my birth certificates. Jason Wyman Humphreys in no way endorses or encourages actions endorsed by the character known as Jay Umpriz. Right, so now we can continue and I can say whatever I want. I got that shit. Works, man. That works in courts. Fucking... what's his name? Bill O'Reilly. Like, people like that. Like, big fucking inflammatory right-wing celebrities have used that defence. So what I say on that podcast isn't
It's not my true
defamation.
self.
It's not inflammatory. It's not defamation because I didn't say it.
It was this.
It was a
dude.
character that did it.
It was a character.
Even though your whole career is built around you are just being that, your career is built around a personality. So how do you propose to detach a character from a personality?
Well, you can call it character. You can use the actual word for it, which is persona, right? You put on, not an act, but you put on an idea of what everyone else wants you to, or about what the acceptable version of yourself is, you know. And again, you put yourself into a box because it's safe, because it's easy, because the life of an artist, right, is the stupidest thing to live, right? Because you're just going around chasing inspiration all the time, right? So most of the time you're not getting it. No. Do you think Van Gogh was having a good time?
I think it's universally recognised that he was not having a good time.
You don't cut your ear off if you're having a good time, kids. You don't.
No,
I'm
man.
sorry. You don't. You know.
But that brings us back to what I was saying about recognition, man. And someone listening to you, just one person could be fucking incredibly validating. I mean, the guy famously didn't sell anything. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't respected. It
was only after he died,
like, persistent lack of respect will send people mad and will make people do unreasonable things.
Yeah.
Which brings us back again to the idea of sort of systemic oppression, and what the things that happen now. People so quick to dismiss aggressive actions and rioting, which obviously rioting is not sort of a thing to aspire to.
No,
but it's to completely turn a conversation onto rioting when horrific acts of brutality have been committed systemically.
That's a very good point.
Then we turn it onto this act of rioting.
I never thought of it like that. That's a very interesting point.
But actually, we all fully fucking
all
understand.
All they're going on about in the news is the riots.
Exactly, but we all fully understand, don't we, in our hearts, why people commit acts of aggression and violence, because we all fucking do it when we're pushed. Imagine being pushed. We can't imagine. It's because, again, I've got to draw attention to anyone listening that both the dudes talking into the microphone here are white, and we've never experienced this sort of fucking systemic oppression that goes against it, and you must be constantly reminded of all the time. Not only by actual overt acts of racism, but by, again, cultural depictions that aren't showing the world as it really is.
Yeah.
So you're
it's intrinsic. It's like asbestos in the walls. Like it's poison.
I can't imagine, honestly, and I don't fucking. I don't want to use any sort of wording that might sound like I'm trying to patronise or take ownership to anybody else's struggle. I really fucking can't imagine. I have enough rage as it is being a fucking working class person.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being so systemically fucking oppressed. I completely understand.
But where's all that rage gone? If you think about 1980s, Thatcher, skinheads, you know, I'm a massive fan of like Shawn Meadows and This Is England and all that. You know, he talks about that and talks about forgiveness. He talks about, you know, a lot of. Did you ever see The Virtues?
No, man, I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty, if you haven't seen that, then see that. It's fucking dark and it's really difficult, but it's incredible. Where's all that rage gone? That feeling of, you know, of that atmosphere of miners' strikes, Reaganism, Thatcherism. All of a sudden, you know, the social media age and the internet age creates this vacuum of sort of, or this miasma of meaninglessness, or where you all of a sudden everything is sort of swept up from under your feet, and all of a sudden you've got nothing left to stand on. You don't have a sense of class identity. You don't have a sense of history, of you know, of history, of, you know, of identity. If that makes sense.
Yeah, man. Sort of. Yeah, there's.
I don't even know what I'm talking
I know
about.
what you mean. Like that. Obviously, to go back to what we were talking about, rage and that being a negative thing, in the sense that an uncontrollable fucking outburst from a person based on an emotional trigger from the past is not a good thing. But directed anger can and has always been very constructive and politically very constructive. And in relation to what we're talking about again, to turn back to what will used to be called the civil rights struggle, I don't know if people still use those phrases, although we definitely should, or it's still an appropriate phrase, should I say.
It's like
that we when we talk about these things, we talk about them with regards to American history. For one, your knowledge of the civil rights struggle and mine is no doubt Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, and maybe Malcolm X, and they're all American, because and then you mentioned earlier Nelson Mandela and quoted him,
Marcus Garvey,
right? Okay, again, but we don't talk about the civil rights struggle that happened in Britain, do we? We know about, and I'm not even talking about this. I've recently read about it. And I can't give names and dates, but I recently read about a bus boycott that took place in London a few years before the famous Montgomery bus boycotts that were the sort of the spark of the civil rights movement in America.
Already there.
So I'm not giving credit to one person or another. What I'm saying is that, well, I'll make one point here, that by not discussing that civil rights struggle, we give the impression that racism in Britain was not as bad as it was in America in the southern states. And by highlighting Nelson Mandela and the anti-apartheid struggle and the fact that both of these resulted in the downfall of segregation, we can say that segregation no longer exists, that we overcame it. But not only in Britain, we get the double benefit of saying not only did we overcome it, but they weren't even happening in Britain. They happened, it was America and South Africa. But obviously we supported those regimes the whole time.
You say segregation's over. Why do you still have areas like Compton in LA? Why do you still have areas in Chicago?
Because now segregation is economic.
Exactly.
Because what we're talking about is, again, systemic inequalities and systemic
inequality
of opportunity. And obviously we're quite powerless to change that, aren't they, you and I? But this is interesting. We could talk about like the phrase white privilege. Does that offend you? Like, it offended me. Because I'm not privileged, you know. I don't say I'm privileged.
I get a little bit panicked when the screen goes up. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
If I'm being honest, if I'm being wholly honest, it doesn't offend me. I'm not offended by it, but if somebody went, Casey, you've got white privilege, like, on one hand, I would accept that because I feel like it's intrinsically probably true. I get treated different, or I would get treated differently. I'll tell you a quick story, right? So, I yesterday get a knock on my door, open the door, it's a policeman. Right, I'm like, he's like, I'm there in my dressing gown or something. I'm like, you know, it's like early evening or whatever. I'm just chilling. Policeman comes to my door. He knocks on the door. I open it, and he goes, he's like, there's been a burglary like across the road. Like, I'm just knocking on doors to see like if people know anything or heard anything, right? And then I was sort of just like in a bit of a piss-taking mood, so I was like, oh no, what happened? And the guy looks at me baffed. He's like, was somebody's house got broken into? That's what a burglary means. And I told my friend Giorgio, who's mixed, that story, and she was like, oh my god, Casey, like, you're so lucky that you've got white privilege, like, you would have slapped me. And
right.
I was like, well,
so
obviously he wouldn't have slapped you because I'd jump in and I'd protect you because I love you. Right? That's how the conversation went. But having,
how did you feel when she said that to you? She, he, what? Sorry, which doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But how did you feel when that person said to you that you've got white privilege?
I felt,
because I had a conversation maybe 2 years ago with someone, and they said it to me, and I was like, "No, man, bullshit." But it was a white person, so it was quite a comfortable conversation.
Yeah,
and
but
I just said bullshit, and I dismissed it.
Yeah, me as an individual, like, I haven't had an easy time of it at all, right?
No, but it's not because you're white, is it?
My suffering and my experiences are so radically different from the experiences of, say, an African American, a South American, or even a British black person, you know? And I feel like that would be what white privilege might mean in regards to me. Like, my experience is so different to that I cannot hold a candle to what those people have experienced. I try and empathise with it. I try and empathise with it.
Yeah, I'm trying to sort of just understand it in myself. Like, when I dismiss this person's viewpoint, that it was just an emotional reaction, actually, because I feel like I grew up poor and, like, it's been fucking hard, man. How can you tell me I'm privileged? And how can you politically expect that phrase to have any, like, countenance with white people that feel that they're fucking getting fucked all the time by austerity? But you have to sort of understand. This is where I said we're not very powerful people, are we? We can't really make systemic change. But we have to also remember at this point that systems are made up of people, and if we can continue to spread the conversation at least, and sorry to draw it back to what I was talking about, without an understanding that there was a civil rights struggle in Britain, we don't understand that there was systemic and ingrained institutional, and still is systemic and ingrained institutional racism in Britain. So then we don't recognise that we have white privilege because we haven't been educated properly on British colonial history and the true barbarism of our past. We're allowed to be told to be proud of Britain, aren't we? Like, be proud of the Britain, but then we're not allowed to, like, discuss the horrible shit, like castrating Kenyans or starving Indians and shit like that. Sorry, to go back to what I was talking about, this aggression being useful, again, in the remembering of the civil rights struggle, not only as being like as being foreign and being not British, I think internationally it's generally remembered as being peaceful, about peaceful protest.
Internationally,
do you think, like, Nelson Mandela and the anti-apartheid movement are generally remembered as being peaceful, and we remember Martin Luther King? Generally,
yeah, but he did in his early years. He did.
No, I know this, and you know this, but I'm talking about the mainstream memorialisation of what we get when we get depictions of Nelson Mandela. The image of Nelson Mandela
is peace and love. It's the same sort of counterculture, peace and love ideas that we were talking about.
And in Washington, for instance, in the sort of is it called Memorial Park, where they've got the official statues, where there's like the Lincoln Monument, the memorial, and all that shit, and the statues of all their national heroes, right? There's a statue of Martin Luther King there, right? Obviously, begrudgingly by the establishment to put a civil rights leader there, but there are no national monuments to Malcolm X, right? And to the idea that the civil rights struggle should be confrontational.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because Malcolm X was seen as more of a revolutionary?
Exactly. Like, there are no statues dedicated to the Black Panthers, are there? But they run They run food programs. They didn't just like. They've been sort of characterised to us as just terrorists, black people that carried guns and were violent. But violence and aggression, what they understood was one of many tools to be used in a social and political struggle. So by writing off those characters, by writing off those aspects of history, and by only memorialising peaceful protest, so not only are we in Britain remembering that we're not racist, but that it's the rest of the world that is, we're also remembering that racism is overcome by peaceful sit-ins, and that everybody that partakes in acts of aggression is a thug. So this is why, and then we get focus on black faces smashing a window, and of course we as white people that have been socialised throughout generations to look and see things a certain way are encouraged to see that these are thugs. Look at these cultural depictions you've got that show you that black people are thugs, and look at these national and international memorialisations we've got that show you that when black people are peaceful, then oppression is overcome.
Nothing's black and white, pardon the pun. Nothing. Everything is this weird shade of grey, and you know,
indeed, so
that's the world. Useful. That's the world. You know,
it can be very destructive.
I would advise everyone to go and listen to Public Image Limited, because they've got a song called Rise, which is actually about Nelson Mandela, and he's got this lyric, John Lydon, where he goes like, "Anger is an energy." You know, it's true. Anger is an energy. You can use it. You can use it in the same way. You can use it for to hurt others, or you can use it to start movements, to start revolutions, to make actual change in the world. No one's gonna no one's gonna actually make any physical change with, which is especially in the case of America now, is no one's gonna. That's why they went to rioting so quickly, because they've done for generations the peaceful protest. They've done that. So they're at a point now where the only way that they can feel listened to and appreciated, and their struggle is something to be acknowledged, is through rioting, is through sort of these revolutionary actions.
So I think also when people are trying to write off rioting and say, what do people hope to achieve by this? I think it's very important to understand, in relation to the conversation we've been had on mental health and impulsive reaction, that it's not generally, I don't think when people riot and loot, they think it's going to achieve anything. It's a psychological reaction. It's like, when you've been pushed, you break, and you don't think you're going to achieve something from it. You don't think about it till afterwards.
You just don't care at that point.
You just do it, and then it's afterwards you might evaluate your actions. So I completely empathise, man. I attempt to. Obviously, I can't. Like I said, I can't put myself fully in a position of someone that's been so systematically fucking oppressed. Mm-hmm. But I can understand how rage makes people do things that they didn't think were going to make a change, didn't think were going to achieve anything, but just made them feel a bit fucking better for a minute, man. Do you know what I mean? Smash 100%. Something. We've all fucking smashed something, haven't we?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man. How can we condemn people for doing the same thing?
Yeah. Alright, so I do want to wrap this up because I'm hungry and I'm tired and I want to go to bed, but
it's been good.
I'd like the thing on my magical list of magic that I had was the last thing was hope, and whatever that means to you, right? And I feel like that would be a really good way of ending. So we've talked about a lot of things, really.
Right now, man, after the conversations we've just had, obviously I'm inspired to think a lot. Hope is for me about the idea that I can personally become a better person. I can change in my personal expressions of trying to assert myself. Yeah. I don't have to assertion doesn't have to equal aggression or rage. I can be a better and more expressive person without being destructive. Also, I can recognise when anger can be a utility. In a wider sense, I think that hope right now means that in this wider political context, that regardless of the news media's attempt to push people's focus onto violent action, people majoritarily are still very much focused on the violent action of the police and an oppressive system, rather than the impulsive violent action, a violent psychological reaction of people to hideous things that have been done to them. Yeah.
Okay. And also, if you have that perspective, then you can pass that perspective on to the people that you love and the people that surround you. You're the center of a network of people.
Again, yeah, that's what we're doing as artists, isn't it? That's what the hope is. The hope is that we can affect someone and we can make them.
Yeah, art is communication to me.
Yeah, we can communicate ideas, and those ideas can change the possible boundaries of society.
Boris Johnson can get up and do as many fucking speeches as he wants, but it's not going to move you in the same way that a truly great painting will, or a truly great song will. If a piece of music can bring you to tears, if a piece of music can change your life, that beats anything.
Yeah, man.
Beats anything that a politician or that a person in the establishment can say to you or express to you. They could shove as many hollow lies down your throat. Art is the truth.
The mad truth.
Boom!
Boom, man. And on that, yeah.
That's quality.
Big up psychedelic substances. Big up anyone using art and music as a form of activism. Big up anyone fighting for something good, man.
Much love, man. Much love. Listen.
Shake on that.
Much love. Much love. Peace. Yeah, go and like the Facebook page. Go and support the Loft. You can Google it. They're real. They exist.
The Loft Recording and Rehearsal Studios.
Yeah.
DSB, Dirty Scrounging Bastards, Poetry Scum, Nottingham's premier and onlyest working class spoken word and poetry night. Boom, and yeah, just keep your ears out, everyone. Stay safe, you know.
Last word.
Last word.